You're listening to Back in the Day, Nostalgic Noises.
Stitch and Dean back with your favourite show, Raving to the Nation. Actually, it's not the nation now, it is worldwide. We are worldwide in 13 countries. Have you been on the show yet? If not, we need to hear your voice. Let's hear Dean's.
Welcome back to the pod. I'm Dean, and with my good friend Stitch here, we're heading back to a time when advanced technology meant owning a clear-cased Game Boy and knowing exactly which angle to hold your Discman so it wouldn't skip while you walked to the school bus. Today, we're talking school days, from the smell of freshly photocopied worksheets to the absolute social suicide of wearing the wrong brand of trainers on non-uniform day. Strap in. We're going back to the era of whiteboards and overhead projectors.
It's the day you've been waiting for the rest of your life. The only problem is, though, Dean, is we've stumbled across something here, something bad about the 90s. Got any ideas? Or have we
Oh,
given it
something
up?
bad about the 90s. I'm going to have to come up with a guess. Inflatable furniture?
Yeah, pop that one.
Yeah, that was rubbish, wasn't it? And what about Tamagotchi? And we could say all digital pets.
Yes, throw them in the
Do you
bin.
remember those?
Never, no. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, you used to bring them to, didn't we used to bring them to school and they used to have their own lives?
yeah. Well, I certainly didn't, but a lot of people did back in the 90s.
Back in the night.
Remembering that I left school before the 90s, but I was still alive in the 90s, and I did used to see people with these Tamagotchis. I
Right.
think they were brought in to teach people about
Being good to animals.
teach children about yeah, about a sense of responsibility and nurturing. But who wants them things pinging off at 3 in the morning, waiting to be fed?
Certain Stanley. Unbelievable. Not just for Christmas, animals. I think we've given it away in the introduction. We are talking about schools, something which was rubbish. I don't know why I'm laughing about it because it is something I basically did loathe. It was my worst part of my life. We can look back at it now and laugh and joke, but it was dismal. I did hate going. How did you feel about it?
I hated it too, Stitch. It was absolutely awful. And I think the only reason why school days were so good is that they are well and truly in the past.
Yes.
It was just trauma. It was an
Yeah.
absolute field. Yeah.
Yeah. If it wasn't the bullies, which we're going to talk about later, it was the teachers or the subjects or your inability to keep up academically, or as Dean did mention, the clothes, the fashion, the trainers. We've got loads of stories for you. Stay locked in. We want to hear yours as well. It's not just two old dinosaurs rabbiting about our lives, but we need to hear about how much you hated the school as well.
Yeah, we want to know what it really was like at school in the 90s because well, I left school. I started school in 1971.
Right,
Not no, I was born in 1970. No, I started school in 1976,
right.
which meant I left school in 1987. So a few years before the
Yeah.
90s. When did you leave school, Stitch?
99. Ooh, not sure. Hang about 91.
91.
90.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, 91, 92. Because then I passed my test pretty much the same time. Yeah. But anyway, terrible memories. Uh, okay. Did we go to the same schools, Mr. Dean, or not?
I don't think so. I
Right.
went to three different schools
Me
because
too.
in Somerset we had a different system. You didn't go to school the same school from
No.
5 until
Yeah, yeah,
11, did you?
yeah.
Yeah. So we went to three schools. So I went to St John's Church of
Ooh,
England school.
look at you.
So that was yeah, that was 5 to 9, and then Selwood School, middle school. because
Right.
in where we live, we had two schools, didn't we? We had
Yeah, yeah,
Oakfield and Selwood. Yeah. Well, I
yeah.
went to Selwood, 9 till 13. That was, and then Froome College. Not really a college; it was just a secondary. But they called it Froome College, and that was from 13 to 16. So that was where I did my O levels.
Look at you. No, okay. I was Trinity. Again, I think biblically based. Trinity School was my first one. My second one was it Oakfield or Odefield?
Yeah,
Oakfield.
Oakfield. That was.
Yeah, Oakfield. My sister went to Matravers though, which was another one. I never went to that
Yeah,
one.
but well,
And
that would have
then,
been after you moved house, wouldn't it?
yeah. So I stayed, even when we moved, I kept going back to my old schools and then Frome College. So I must have turned up just as you were leaving, apparently. What do you reckon? I think so.
I do remember. Yeah, I do remember when I do remember you seeing me at school. I think you must have started, no, just after I left.
Yeah.
So I'd
No,
left Froome College by the time you started secondary.
yeah. No, those were terrible days. Anyway, we will discuss more the mates getting there, the fashion, the lessons, the teachers, it's all in this one. And if it's not in this one, it's in the next one. Dean, remember some of your old mates' names. It's only 30 years ago. Can you remember any of your old mates? Or
Yeah, this was
any names?
oh any night, but I can remember my closest circle: Richard Maidment, Peter Bully Boy Bullingham.
Uh,
They were both really big lads, and I was really small.
right.
So it was quite comical to look at. It must have been. Then, there are others. Justin Beckett, he went on and became a Marine, I think.
Right.
Lee Elkins, Darren Bolf. We went fishing together. Andrew Mullins, Phil Litterick.
I hope
It's
they're
all I can
listening.
remember
Right.
off the top of my head.
That's the ones you
If
remember.
yeah, that's the closer circle. They're the ones I used to hang around with at dinner break and play football with, and various other shenanigans.
I know I
What about
had
yourself?
I know I had like a circle, but I can't remember all of them. There was sort of the circle, then this sort of outside circle, wasn't there? So uh Andrew Thorne was my best mate, and then there was a guy called Lee Cooper, nothing to do with the trousers. Then there was a guy called Jonathan Parrott or Perrott, Elliot Partridge, but he was a Londoner and came in a little bit later, quite fashionable lad. Yeah, and then there was a few of the cool guys. There was a guy called Daniel, a guy called Matt, Ashley Boland. He was a kid, and his teacher was the maths teacher. He was interesting, curly hair like me.
Poland?
Yeah,
Oh yes, yeah. That we had our year head. My year head
right.
was Mr. Poland. Yeah.
See?
So
This was
yeah,
in
before
through
you
college, yeah.
joined. This was Froome College, yeah. And
Yeah,
he
Boland.
had another son who was in my year at school.
Right. No, Ashley was with
So
us.
yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Uh,
Oh yeah.
so, so there we go. We remember them. Hope they're listening. And I did once want to try and find out. You know, when you find a friend is like a place you go on in the wondrous world of internet, and you can track down people. Don't know whether it's allowed anymore, but I thought I would like to find out what they're all doing, but I never have. But if you're listening, Andrew or Fruey or anyone else that I can't remember your name, uh, listen, subscribe, and comment.
Yeah, I do remember there being school reunions, but I never went to any of them
No,
because it just didn't really seem like a wholesome environment somehow. Because
no,
just imagine you had lads there and girls who fancied each other 20 years ago, and
yeah,
getting them all together in the school hall, a bit of dancing, and
uncomfortable.
it just didn't
Mm.
seem like a not a good idea. So I never went to any of the school reunions, but yeah, they were pretty wild.
Well, to tell you how popular I was never invited to any of the reunions. That's how cool I
Yeah.
was.
Well, I
We,
wasn't invited. I just
no,
heard about them after they happened.
that's good news. Next embarrassing question. because I'm not sure about Dean. I'm only sure about myself. Which gang were you in? Now I've put them into three. There's the dudes, then there's the normals, then there's the dweebs. Or you could even be worse than them. You could be like the science fiction kids who are just pretending they're robots and walking around pretending they've just landed and they're aliens out of a UFO. Which were you in?
Hmm, difficult one that. I identified four different cohorts
Right,
actually, because
right,
you had the hard nuts, you had the
right.
real hard nuts who didn't care how we looked, they were just absolute lunatics, and
Hard. Yeah.
now most of it they're either dead or they're career criminals or in prison or getting up to all sorts of mischiefs.
Yes.
Um, so you had the hard nuts, and then you had the cool dudes. So we weren't necessarily hard, but they were the lads with the white socks, the earring in one ear, the pretty boys who've got all the girls.
Right.
Then um, some of them at the time, some they'd walk a little bit pigeon-toed because it was considered a little bit attractive to walk pigeon-toed. It would,
Okay.
and then you had the normal. Maybe that was just my year, but then you had the normal average kids,
Mm,
and that's what I fitted into. And
yeah.
then you have the absolute dweebs, like the science fiction kids, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, those are probably in government now.
Yeah.
That sort of type.
Yeah. The ones we mocked are probably now ruling the world. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so they were the cool ones. I think we sort of semi looked up to them. So they were the handsome ones, weren't they? The ones that found the girls before everyone else did, or the hard nuts. We were always taught wondering who was gonna beat someone else up, who was the hardest. It was like a yeah, just like how it worked, wasn't it? They were the ones that were respected and listened to because they were good at fighting. It seems very ludicrous, really, but that's the way it worked.
That was the way it worked. Yeah, yeah. And it seemed magnified when you went up to big school, when you went up to Frome College for secondary. Because,
Ah,
like I said, you had Oakfield and Selwood, and so it was all about who's the toughest kids in who are the toughest kids in Selwood, and then Oakfield, who's the toughest in Oakfield, and then we all went up to big school. So it's like, who's the ultimate toughest?
oh
The old
yes.
Oakfield
Oh,
kids,
the
and it was
mix.
always the Oakfield. Yeah, it was always when we all got mixed together. It was always the Oakfield kids who were tougher because they were from that side of town.
Right.
All their dads were tarmackers who
Yeah.
like left their
Bricklayers.
wives. So it was loads of disaffected
Yeah.
lads from your side of town.
Yes.
Totally unlike yourself, of course.
No, that's
And all
right.
the dads were gone. Yeah, that's right. So they were all absolute lunatics and hard nuts.
Yeah. That's it. That brings us memory. So that's the amalgamation, isn't it? When it went out to the big school, the Frome College, they're all mixed up in one bunch. Yeah, I hated it.
Big
Unbelievable.
melting pot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was absolute carnage.
When we sat in class, where did you sit? Were you at the front, like a teacher's pet, at the back? Or was it a free for all where you sat? Or what was the message you had in your schooling career?
Well, we had a different. We between lessons we'd walk to a different classroom. So each lesson had a different classroom,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, it's a complete mix up of different kids in each class. And but for each lesson, we'd always sit in the same place,
Right.
and then it would change to the next lesson. So for maths, I was sat right at the front, and then the lesson would end, and for English, I'd be sat right at the back. So over the course of a day, I'd float around the classroom.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the different
And
classrooms. Lots of them were on stilts, I remember. You had to go up wooden steps to go into the classrooms. The one I remember, there was one that was like a semi-alphabetical one, but because I was near the front, I always used to sit near the back and get told off. And there was another one, our science lesson, which we will talk about in subsequent shows, where it was absolute free for all. You just ran in there and got where you could get at the back.
we didn't have any, yeah, we don't have any of that. It is all perhaps a bit more structured
Yeah.
when we were there. And but yeah, by the time your lot You're
Yeah,
working
4 years
on
later.
secondary. Oh, yeah, all discipline had gone out the
4 years
window.
later, mate. Yeah, out on its ear. Anyway, we spoke about finding girls, and that was the Ardnuts job, wasn't it? I didn't really find them because you will find out why later. But probably we just teased them or something. I remember an embarrassing story when I was writing this out. I'm pretty sure we'd already graduated, but there was a girl that was in our class that was pleasant. And so I thought she was quite nice. And where me bruv lives near Safeways, she used to work in Safeways, and we used to go in there. I remember going in there with Marky G and buying a limp leek or a bedraggled lettuce leaf and putting it on the conveyor belt where she was the cashier, just so I could pay tuppence halfpenny to have a few words with her and then go out again. So that was the closest I got to hanging out with girls.
So you get a leaf. You do absolutely anything just to
Just
go in and
yeah, moldy
oh
carrot,
wow.
anything. Poor girl. I hope she's not listening. If so, I'm sorry. Anyway, we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna have an advert. Stay tuned.
A 1990 bus on its way to the past has left the platform. If you have not got your ticket and have forgotten to board, please come back in 2 weeks for the next voyage and don't forget it again.
You are listening to Back in the Day Nostalgic 90s. Available on Spotify, Apple, Podchaser, and YouTube. Please comment, like, and rate the show. Tell a friend, because doing so really helps for the show to grow and for grow to show. So please do that. We will read out all your comments on subsequent shows. Thank you. On with
For
the show, Stitch.
yeah, yeah. For example, we've got some commenters on Spotify, young Dean. Who've we got this year?
Yes, yes, we have, and this is pertaining mostly to um, the show we did. Was that show three, Stitch? You had to be there, or did you? Nostalgic 90s.
Right, right.
Now, yeah,
Me,
all
yeah,
about road
me.
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rovers Man on Spotify, he says, yes, I always ask that question. Why aren't I here? Retro days, bring 'em back. Nice one, Rovers Man. And then there's Sylvia Seven. She quotes me actually. She says, the neon is starting to flicker. And then another quote from me, heading out to find a telephone box. And she says, those words are so graceful, so nostalgic. I can picture a movie about that.
I th-
Oh, Sylvia, that's nice. Yeah.
I think
And
Denisha, I think she's the most sophisticated commenter we've ever had there, I think, Dean. But it's a bit too much love for you, though.
yes. Yeah, no, that's all right. I don't mind that actually. And there's one more comment on that show. Tamaris Hairstad. She's a friend of a show, isn't
She
she?
is, she is.
Um,
So Sylvia, they
yes.
both are, yeah.
Yeah. What does Tamara say? She says, loving the show as a female of a species from 1989. And she says in brackets, it wasn't all bad that year, Dean. Well, point taken, but it was for me. 89 for me was an absolute car crash. But I
Yeah.
do take your point, Tamaris. It was good for a lot of people. And she says, do a segment on things you could get away with back in the day that you can't now. I'm sure that will bring your stats closer to 50-50. That's 50-50 boys and girls.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, what do you think of that one, Stitch?
Well, what's what
Could be a
we
bit risky.
things to get away with. I have asked her
Depends
to
how serious we
clarify.
want to go.
I have asked her to
Yes.
clarify, and in show 8, we will talk about that more. Um, Sylvia, yes, Sylvia is someone who's been on already, and she's also been asked to join me on some of my other platforms, but has refused. Beautiful English she has, so it's nice to have a lot of love between the species there. We've got another message from Jin, who is our voiceover girl. She said, "I heard your podcast, nice editing, and the quality is comparable to BBC.
That's incredible.
Isn't
Oh,
it?
thank you, Jin. Yes, yeah. Do you, I don't know if anyone else has thought this, but one could be mistaken for thinking that Jin was an AI,
No,
but
no,
she's definitely not.
no,
She is a real
no.
student, an
That's
English student,
she
yeah.
is. She is. Yeah, yeah,
So
yes.
please don't think that, people, listeners, she is a real person who is our intro voiceover.
Superb. We have had also some comments from Apple, but we have some difficulties seeing them. So thank you if you've done it. I found three. I know one is from America, and I know another one is from Ijur, who we will hear later on at the end of the show doing a Korean voiceover for the ending of the show. So yeah, we've lots of love from all over the world, Dean. Back to the show. Nicknames. Can you remember, or do you not want to remember? And can you say them on air?
I do remember. I Yes. Now this would have been at middle school. I was known as hippie
Right,
because I was perceived as being so chilled out
right,
that they thought. I even had people come up to me wanting to buy drugs because they thought I was on drugs.
right,
Yeah, that's how they perceived me. I certainly didn't feel chilled out.
right.
In fact, one of the things I wish about my younger years was that I was a bit more chilled out. But yeah, so that was my nickname. They called me hippie.
Right. Well, I had millions. I had what did I have? I had javelin, beanpole, skinny, rake. And then when the glasses came on when I was 7 years old, it was four eyes and such like. So adorable comments. Yeah.
Javelin. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really have many to throw back at other people at the time, which was a bit of a shame. So you just had to take it
Yeah.
on the chin, didn't you?
It's
Wh-
so it was purely build based, wasn't it?
Yeah,
About just about your shape, yeah. Because
yeah,
we're quite a different build, aren't we?
yeah.
So I'm what do you weigh? First
82, like
question.
10 and a half
82, but
stone.
cool, 10 and a half. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm 12 and a half. I'd say I'm 12 and a half stone, mostly muscle. You're 10 and a half stone of bones, aren't you, really?
Yeah, it's bone and a little
But
bit of flesh thrown
yeah,
in there. Yeah.
bone and flesh. Yeah.
So yeah, nicknames. Were you bullied or did you do the bullying? Well, I'll tell you my story first. I was bullied. That's why Blinking Well hated it. I used to go to. It wasn't rough, and there was no fighting or fists. It was just scaredom. So it started in Oakfield, and people used to who were bigger than me used to sort of jump out behind bushes or the classroom or sneak up on me with like hoods on or just be foreboding. Do you know what I mean? In the area where you didn't want them to be, just like menacing. So it used to scare me out my wits. I used to hate it, but it wasn't any physical, but it was just the fear factor. Yeah, absolutely hated it. What happened with you? Or did you dish it
With
out?
me, hmm, I did dish it out, but well, it sort of went in a bit of a circle for me because I was an unusually small child. Out of, I think in middle school, there were 210, 220 kids in my year. And there were only, I think, five children smaller than me. So I got picked on quite bad, yeah, and physically as well as verbally. But then when I was about 14, I went away at summer
Right.
for, well, school holidays at summer. When I came back, double the size. I did, well, not double the size. I just had an enormous growth spurt
Became Michelin
in
man.
6 weeks. Yeah, that's right. And went
Ah,
back to school a lot bigger. Yeah.
ah,
So the tables turned. So yeah, I was bullied, but at the same time, I was a bully, but not to the extent that I was bullied.
yes.
Yeah, that's right. So it was traumatic.
Yeah.
That Yeah, so it's not funny, is it really?
No, but silver lining because yeah. So similar with me, I didn't broaden out, but I suddenly shot up, and then my way of becoming more acceptable was I started being funny, or realized I could start being funny. So then I got more accepted, and then I could start looking down on people and bullying people who weren't funny or weren't as tall as me. So that's we used to have a guy. I've written it in the notes. This is the guy's name. Sorry if you're out there. Sean Raymond Dominic Bailey. He was from Yorkshire. Sorry, boys and girls. Someone hadn't paid their bill and cut off in our prime as we were live to the nation. Sorry about that. Where were we anyway?
Yes.
Sean Raymond Dominic Bailey. I think that was the guy's name from Yorkshire. We love him, unless we already said that. And he came down, and because he spoke so differently to what we did, we just mocked him senselessly. And back in the day, they used to call the register. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
And they used to read it
Yeah.
out. And before they got to his name, we used to say his name really loudly in a Yorkshire accent. I just cringe at it. And he was in the room, and we were like mocking him to his face and his accent. But we found it absolutely hilarious. I don't know how he stayed sane, because this was my bullying bit, I led the barrage. Unbelievable. Not my greatest time in history, but it was turning the tide. I was doing it to someone else instead of someone to do it to me. So I was justifying it yeah, you know.
Yeah, which doesn't make it right, of course, but
Well,
it's an explanation, isn't it, of
isn't it?
sorts.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, before the coins run out again, welcome to 0 to 17 years old. We have now the whole spectrum of listening ears all listening. So we'd like to hear about your experiences if you're younger than what we are.
We'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
A fresh perspective from our younger listeners who
Thanks.
know absolutely nothing of the 90s whatsoever, but we still want to hear.
We do, we do. Ladies now are up to 28%, creeping ever closer to our 50%. 13 countries now listening to this rubbish, including Chile and Vietnam. Welcome warmly to you all. But because we haven't been paying our bills and we'll have to rapidly wrap up, it's time for me, Chelsea Bun and Horlicks.
Yes, that's us. Well, I'm off to copy someone else's homework, but we'll be back next time unless Ofsted shuts us down.
저희 팟캐스트 들어주셔서 감사합니다. 다운받으시고 댓글 남기시고 친구들에게도 꼭 추천해주세요.